Welcome to the Craft of Coaching podcast, where we dive into what it truly takes to become a skilled, confident life coach. I'm your host, Kate, head of the CLCC, or Certified Life Coach Collective, an ICF-accredited Level 1 coach training program. We combine courage, coaching, and community to offer you more than just a training program, but a life-changing experience where you use your own personal transformation as the learning ground for supporting your clients. On this podcast, we explore how you can use coaching skills to support your clients or expand your own growth, all grounded in evidence-based coaching practices. Learn more about our program and get free resources for becoming a life coach at teamclcc.com. And now, here's today's episode. Okay, well, of course, it's always a pleasure to get to talk with Jen. With you, Jen, because you are one of those people who brings a really incredible light and energy to everything you do. And in particular, I wanted to talk to you today about some of the shifts that you've had going on with your business. And we were talking before I hit record, and you teased it out that it's not just a business shift, it's a personal shift. First thing I wanted to ask is if you just give those who are listening to the Craft of Coaching podcast a little rundown on who you be, who you serve through your coaching work. What would you like us to know about you?
Oh, well, thanks, first of all, for having me on. And who do I serve? So when I think of my favorite person, it is a woman who has been through the ringer, right? In whatever that means for her. She has risen from the ashes, right? Is tenacious, resilient, like all of that. And it knows that she is here for big impacts. Right. And big is such a subjective word. So don't read into that. Big can be, for you, Kate, it's going to look very different for me, but to her, it is something that is so meaningful, so profound that she knows she can have that impact on the world. And what we do is help bring that to life. But for me, it's so much more important about who you're being as you're doing.
Yeah. Because otherwise there's this treadmill people can end up on of ticking all the boxes, doing all the things.
Yeah. But and they're done that.
Yeah. And it's not a fulfilling life.
Yeah. So. Yeah. But it's just, it's someone who is like primed for action and wants to do it in community with others, and be supported. We joke around like it's for the strong women that don't want to have to be strong all the time, or the underestimated that are like, oh, you're going to tell me I can't, like hold my beer and I'm going to go make it happen.
Hold my beer. I love that.
Watch me.
Awesome. Well, so full disclosure, you are a Team CLCC grad, and you came through the program a couple of years ago. And one of the things that I know stresses out a lot of coaches is, how do I do the marketing? And there's often a feeling of, whatever I come up with first, that's what I got to stick with. There's a kind of sunk cost bias that can happen. I've put so much time and effort into building this brand. Now I'm wondering if I want to change my mind. Maybe I don't want to change my mind. Maybe I'm just afraid. And then, of course, people are sometimes changing their mind, and they're going, I know what I did create doesn't work, and I want it to look different, but I don't know what I want it to look like yet. So I wondered if you would walk us and the listeners through what that process was like for you to figure out how you wanted your business to look. And I actually wanted to ask if you'd kind of walk us through maybe any stories you have, or the narrative of what you initially landed on, and then what you tried and what you decided to change.
Yeah, it's a long and sordid past. No, I'm kidding. So in 2011, I
was fully ready for it to be a long and sordid past, and like
I will be succinct. So but there's many highlights along the way. So in 2011, I knew that something in my life needed to change. I didn't know what it was, and somehow I stumbled across health coaching as a career, and I was like, oh, like I've lost a bunch of weight recently. I can be a health coach. And so I went to school for that and what have you. And I got out, hung my shingle, and thought, if you build it, they will come. And as we know now, that does not usually pan out that way. So I tried that on for size for a little bit. And then I was like, that's not it. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll be a life coach. And Kate, I don't think you know this story. You were my very first life coach. And I hired you not because I thought I needed coaching. There's a but here, but because I wanted to see how a life coach works. So I was doing recon, and in the process of it, like it was so helpful. And I was like, I absolutely needed that. And one of the questions you asked me, I was sharing about how my pants were too tight. And you were like, Jen, I don't even know if you remember this. Would
I do.
you have your daughter be uncomfortable in her jeans? I was like, well, of course not. And you're like, then why are you doing that to yourself? And that all these years later has stuck with me. So anyway, I tried life coaching on for size for a bit. That didn't feel right. So I'm like, okay, I have a corporate business background. I'll try business coaching. That didn't feel right. So then I'm like, okay, I'll do life and business. That didn't feel right. Off and on, off and on, off and on through the years. And again, starting in 2011, right? And so I spent a lot of time trying to figure out, who am I here to serve and how can I best possibly do that? To this day, my business is taking off finally after so long. There's lots of stories there, but I'm like, I still don't know quite what to call myself, but who I serve and how I serve them, that is so crystal clear. So am I an empowerment coach, a confident coach, a thought partner coach, like all of it? To me, it doesn't matter. I'm so clear on who I'm here to serve and how. That's what's attracting people.
Yes, that feels like such a mic drop, and I hope that people listening will really take that away. And it might actually surprise people to know that I sometimes feel that way, like, introducing yourself at a party, things like that. I'm a life coach. I'm a director of training for an accredited program. But then also people will go, well, what kind of coach are you? And then it's like, well, what do I call myself? Do I call myself a courage coach? And that, at least to me, just feels very kind of cheesy or performative, not because if someone does that, they shouldn't, but just because it just hasn't felt like it fits for me. But what I am really clear on is that what I want to do is serve people in this specific way. I want them to find and live their most courageous selves. And sometimes the way I'll say it is that I want the truth of who someone is on the inside to be how they actually live on the outside. And I hear that in your story too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I also would want to highlight for people listening that you didn't just feel this doesn't fit and then talk yourself into it. You pivoted. And I'm sure at least to some degree you kept talking yourself into it, but eventually you went and you said, this isn't working. I'm not going to just stew in it. I'm going to try something different, which is big.
Yeah. And I would say don't do what I did, which was sit in the stew for a while, right? And then go through different rebrands. And I would spend so much money on amazing copywriters, amazing website designers. I'd have all the pretty pieces in place, and it just wasn't right. And I know that there's no right, but like when you know, you also know.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And so I spent a lot of time trying to make it fit, and it just was never going to fit.
Yes. Well, then let's get to We the Unruly, which is your current brand. And at least for me, watching you from afar, and since you disclosed that we had a coach-client relationship, I can disclose that I've known you, or different versions of Jen, as you've been transforming and everything over the years for a while. And I have to I love being able to give you this feedback live, that there's something about how you're showing up with We the Unruly. Not that the other ways you showed up were never bad or wrong. But there's something about how you're showing up, how you talk about it, how you appear, how the branding appears, that just feels like, oh, hell yes, this is so Jen. So I'm wondering if you could tell us the story of how you did arrive at the thing that truly clicks for you.
Yeah. Thank you, Kate. And I'm soaking that in, because it only came about in April. In April, I turned 55 of 2025. And I knew something was bubbling up. And I always love the question, where am I not giving myself permission? And so I sat with that. I journaled about it, which I'm not a big journaler, but I journaled about it on my birthday. And some things just started to come to me. And again, let's remember 2011. This is 14 years later, right? Things started coming. I shared it with a couple of trusted friends slash mentors, and they were like they got goosebumps and chills. They're like, right. And so I sat with it for like a week just because I love to knee jerk, right? And sometimes, so I sat with it. And then it was like, no, this is the umbrella of my work, the body of my work, the body of my thought leadership that I've known was inside, and I didn't have the details yet. Right. So it's been this very quick, like our our community just launched August 6th. So we're almost 3 months later, and I already have almost 100 people in. And it's not, I don't have a huge list size. It's because of how I'm energetically showing up. It is in such alignment. But it all goes back to that on my birthday being like, I really want to figure this out. Like something is there. Let's just have an internal conversation about it.
And so, I'm also curious about what was hardest for you about building this. And I see what you're building. It's not just like you skinned your website and just made a couple different images. Like this is an entire branded concept. There's messaging, there's look and feel, there's something about that. I kind of want to pull at that thread more and kind of go like, so I hear that you asked yourself a compelling question, one that was going to get you to tell the truth about what you really wanted.
Yeah.
The truthiest truth. And then I'm curious about was there any like pull where you were kind of like, I don't know. And then finally you gave yourself permission, or was it like once the floodgates opened, it was just Jen is here?
Yeah. In this instance, it was once the floodgates opened. I mean, it has been nonstop and I've loved it so much. I've never felt in such flow and alignment. And that's what people are energetically picking up on. But yes, this is truly when I envision Weedy Unruly, I do vision it as a movement, and that starts with the umbrella. And so now it's building out the ecosystem to support the message, the concept, what have you. And yeah, the floodgates, like now, Kate, for the first time, I'm creating a profit plan and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh yeah, I can absolutely make this happen.
I can hit those numbers.
Yeah, I can hit those numbers. And whether I hit the exact numbers or not, that's not the point. I am being strategic CEO Jen as well as Coach Jen. I'm not just Coach Jen who's really good at it, but doesn't have a sustainable business.
What do you think has allowed you to make that switch? I mean, because I can imagine a lot of people hearing this and going, I want to be the CEO of my business. And I know what you're talking about because I've experienced that switch too. And for me, it felt very subtle. It felt like I just happened to, if I were to answer that question for myself, I go, well, I started building policies and protocols, and it was through the building of policies and protocols for really building out the leadership team for the CLCC program that I think had me go, like if I'm going to have a certain number of people each year, this is how we create sort of the entire ecosystem of a brand and a business that works together to generate profit while doing the service work. I'm really curious about how that arose for you.
Yeah, I like to think of myself as a late bloomer. It starting in 2015, so 10 years ago now at time of recording, I had a couple of things happen personally that just really rocked. Like they say, it was the on the bathroom floor crying moments. And these were like back to back. And they had me question everything I knew about my past, myself, like all of it. Right. So I've been in this active and intentional rebuilding who I am phase for about a decade. Right. And some might say, a decade. And it's like, well, I did this on my own. I 10 out of 10 don't recommend. Like with what I was going through, I absolutely should have sought therapy and what have you and all of that. But it was this beautiful unfolding of who I wanted to be, right? And part of that, it was the incremental shifts over time, but it really started to coalesce, I'd say, last year, early in 24, of like, oh, this is who I am and I can stand behind that, right? This is who I am, not just outside, but inside as well. And then it's been this incremental shifts over that last year or so to now become I'm Jen, the strategic business owner, right? So it's not something I really set out to do, but I think it's because of all this internal work along the way. I always knew that this is what I wanted for myself. I didn't know how it was going to come about, but I believed it was possible. And it was just, I think enough had shifted internally with who I am, the self-trust I have, the worthy, like healing those worthiness wounds, like all of that, it all coalesced to, okay, now I'm ready to take this and step into this bigger role in my business.
Yeah, but I think, unless you tell me differently, I'm also hearing that you didn't wait to have a perfect plan all mapped out. Like you were moving in that direction, following your transformation. I hear the part where the truth of who you actually are on the inside started to become how you would live on the outside. But I'm not hearing, and I want to clarify this for listeners, because I know you've worked with CLCC before, and sometimes marketing people are like, well, I can't like even ask to get a client until I have the whole business built out. And it's like, nope.
No. I 10 out of 10 recommend not doing it that way. And I did that for so long and it just never panned out for me the way that I wanted it to. So can you repeat the question one more time? I have an answer, I promise.
Oh, now I'm going to have to roll back a little bit. So I think what the heart of what I'm getting to is essentially that you did not have like a complete strategic plan. You were following your transformation. You were essentially letting who you be lead the way for the decisions that you make, instead of sort of having everything all built out that's maybe even external that would look good to the world.
Absolutely. And I do love this part of the story and how We the Unruly came to be, is that, yes, I had this vision of this movement, but I didn't have the details, but I started sharing about it. And just because like, I get excited when others share. And so I'm like, oh, people that love me, like, I'm really excited about this. Right. And it started to take on a bit of a life of its own. And all of a sudden people are like they want to be a part of it. They're like, how can I get in from the ground up? I want to be a founding member, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay, so there's something here, right? And then I started laying out, well, what does a community look like? Like, well, I don't know. I never thought I'd be a community owner. And so, it was, what is enough to me, taking all the things I've learned throughout the time to create this quality experience, knowing that, and I'll share, it's 3 months later, like I'm revisiting what we built out and tweaking and fine tuning, right? And still like, where am I still going to experiment? Like that is an ongoing thing. But then I get the logo back from my designer and I'm like, oh, like this is merchable, right? And I share it with a friend who happens to be part of the LGBTQIA plus community. And they're like, you could like, what about a pride logo? Because this was June. I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. So I create a pride logo, and so people are getting, as I'm sharing my enthusiasm and my vision, people are opting into it, right? And I had merch orders for the pride logo. People are like, how can I get it? Even if they don't join the community, they still want the merch because they understand the concept and the vision. So where I'm going with that is, this is the first thing I've ever sold in my life without a sales page. I have spent hours and weeks and months on sales pages and launched to crickets. Okay. This is the first thing I've ever sold without a sales page. I still don't have a sales page, and I have 100+ members in there 3 months later. So no, you do not have to have all the answers and all the bits and bobs and all of that. I think that answers your question, Kate.
It does. Okay. I don't even know that a question was in there. I still think everything you shared is fantastic. I also just want to share for the record that, by the way, you did not have to choose a niche. That is like
No.
such a common marketing kind of advice that's given. And in the coaching blueprint, I actually talk about this. Like, you can choose a niche. It's totally fine to say, I'm a health coach for menopausal moms, right? Like, you can choose that as your niche. You could also have a point of view. And that's how you're like really being magnetic, I'm hearing, in pulling people towards what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. From the start, I said, if you vibe, you belong. And I've been, part of my marketing job then is helping people see if they vibe with the vision and the mission or not. Right. Because not everyone is going to, and that's cool. But I have in the community, I have semi-retired people who are trying to figure out what's next. I have TEDx speakers. I have multiple international best-selling authors. I have artists, I have tarot readers. So it's not the niche, it's not the who, it's who are you intentionally being and what is meaningful to you in your life and the impacts you're here to have, and how do we elevate that in community with peer support to make it happen while not going into the toxic hustle, BS that's out there. Right? This is not doing for the sake of achievement and accolades. Those are nice, but that's not the driver for these people.
Yeah. Yeah. And the community aspect of it is beautiful too, because that's how really people tend to make the most strides, is in a community environment.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm really curious also about, what is something that has surprised you the most about becoming a coach? And I'm asking that question not just about the coaching work, but I think I'm really thinking, what has surprised you the most about this journey of becoming this coach that you are today?
I actually think about that a lot, because so often in coach speak, we say, well, you're never going to be ready. We say it with parents too. Like, you're never going to be ready for children. And there's truth to that. But also, my nervous system, my trauma had not been healed enough for me to step into this version of where I'm at today. Right. It wasn't ready until it was ready. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel safe, quote unquote safe, for so many different reasons. And that's what I had to work on first to be as visible as I am, as deep belief, rooted in deep belief as I am, like all of those things. And now that I have that, everything just flows so much more easily. So sure, I spent those however many years trying, right? And when and not everyone takes that long. We each get to have our journey with that. But what that did, the trying and trying and trying and not getting anything back from that, it chips away at self-doubt. It chips away at confidence. It chips away at self-trust, like all of those things. And so that when I think of readiness, I think of, is your nervous system feel safe enough to step into this work?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I often think that, this is kind of heart of CLCC, why we try to we're working on fear, your own personal growth,
Yeah.
as part of the program, because you can really only take people as far as you yourself have gone on some level. There's a cognitive level where that might not be true, but I actually feel like on a body-based level, and I feel like we as humans, just generally speaking, relating to one another, we can feel when somebody else is grounded, when they're rooted. And that creates more safety for us as well.
Yeah. One of the big things I recently, I think, fully healed was my stories on not belonging, not fitting in. And I remember back to CLCC days, like it was a wonderful experience. I love all the people I met. I love the entire process. But I did have that, I don't know if I belong. And I know that's not an unusual thing, right? And what that did for me, only speaking for me, is I held myself back from deeper connections, from, what have you. I just don't have that anymore. And because of it, now I have these deep, rich, meaningful connections with so many different people. But that's been, why I'm sharing that is there's other stuff lurking out there for me, other old stories and patterns and beliefs and all of that that are going to be uncovered. And the belonging one is just the latest.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's an evolving journey.
Yeah.
We're kind of never done.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been fun because in early October is when that belonging piece, it finally, I was like, oh, I had an experience. And then I'm pretty sure I finally healed that fully. But it's been interesting now, the 3 or 4 weeks since that, I've evolved again. Like it's this, like you said, this evolution, right? It's this continued iteration, but I'm who I am now in these last 3 weeks. Like I'm stronger, even though I was strong, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm even more of that now. That's what I love about the process and journey.
What I think of in those moments, because I could see someone being like, oh, you're saying you're only like 3-4 weeks past a big transformation. How do you know it'll stick? How do you know it's real? Like those could be the kind of critiques. And
yeah, I'd love to speak to that if you're open to it.
Totally. I was just going to say the way I think of those moments is like, it's like if you're the rope and the snake metaphor, like if you're walking through the forest and you see something coiled up ahead and you go, oh God, it's a snake. And then you look a little closer, you go, oh, it's just a rope. You can't go back to seeing the snake.
Right.
And that is something that's really beautiful about those moments. It's like, no, when it's really real, it's really real. But I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, yeah. So that belonging story, I actually thought it was fully healed until July of this last year. And then I had an experience with walking into a room full of women I didn't know, and they made me feel welcome, but it was still the stuff lingering in my head that picked up and, had all this fear and doubt and heaviness and darkness that came over me. And I was so surprised because I'm like, oh, I thought I had fully healed that belonging story. And so it's been like the last number of months of like intentionally working, it wasn't a snake anymore. It was the rope or the rope snake, but it's like, oh no, that is still here. Even though I've worked on that for a decade, there's still some room to grow here because belonging is such a core value of mine, creating belonging spaces for others. And it's such a core value because it's so important to me that I know I belong. I know where I fit in, right? So it's not just the 3 to 4 weeks that I talked about. It's the years leading up to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so fun. And it's been so fun to watch. I'm not technically in your community, but I feel like I'm part of the ride. The energy is really infectious. And so
thank you.
I'm really grateful that you carved out some time to come talk to people about what your journey has been. And my sincerest hope is that people really hear your story and go, it's always going to be an unfolding story. And if I follow the energy of the truth of who I am on the inside and start taking action in that direction, that's when I really step into my fullest power and become really magnetic. And I'm excited for you and wishing you all the success in the world with this community.
Thank you. Yeah. And if I were to leave folks listening in with one final thought, I love that question. Where am I not giving myself permission? And you might not have the answer right away, but the seed has been planted. And one day you might be in the shower or falling asleep or on your birthday journaling, and the answer is going to come and you'll be like, oh, now I know what to do. Oh, now I know. Thank you, universe. I'll take more of that, please.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much for being a guest today. I've loved having you here, Jen. Head to wetheunruly.com. And of course, I'll include your bio and all of that in the show notes.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Kate.
All right. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Before you go, would you help us out and take a moment to give us a rating in iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening? It really helps us get the word out to other listeners. And before you go today, would you like free resources to support your coaching journey? Whether you're considering becoming a coach or you want advanced coach skills training, access our coaching resource library at teamclcc.com. Again, that's teamclcc.com. Can't wait to connect with you. And again, thanks for listening.